Hey guys, Alex here. So I'm going to be starting a brand new video series for you guys on the internets, uh, aimed at double-digit Q players. We're going to call it double-digit Q Transformation. And so what's the story here? What are we doing? Basically, I finally, after years, let's be real, a decade of trying, finally ranked up to a level where I feel comfortable teaching double-digit Q players and having some confidence in the nature of my answer being some sort of correct, or at least correct enough that they can improve properly. And I've been teaching people, beginners, locally at clubs, and it's actually more fun for me usually to teach than to play. I really like sharing this game with people, and I figured why not share it with as many people as possible. So, what's the plan here? The plan for me is to see if I can address some gaps that I see in the course material available online. There's a lot of really good new content coming out from people like Go Magic and all of these existing content creators. But I don't think that double digit Q players are getting kind of a fair shake here. Most content is coming from high down players who've played the game for a very long time, and most of them are expecting in some way in their content for you to have not only watched a lot of the other Go content that's available and learned the basics, but also to have understood them. And in my experience, if you're 18Q or so coming into Go, you've played 20 or 30 games, maybe 50, maybe 100, and you haven't improved for a while, it's because you haven't gotten the vocabulary and you haven't gotten the intuition for the game. And most people will tell you just play more games. You will stop being double digit Q as soon as you play more games. And I found in my teaching that it's a little bit true, but the truth is you can just kind of tell people some stuff and they get better quickly once they start applying it in games. This series is about addressing that communication gap. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. And so I'm going to start doing some things. So first of all, we're going to talk about playing near your friends. I just have an example here. This stone is new on the board and it doesn't have any friends. And in the beginning, you might see players often play several moves in a row far away from their friends. And that's fine. However, it starts to become urgent to play near your friends when you start to see that your stone has a lot of enemies nearby, especially on the 19 by 19 board. On the 9 by 9 board, basically all of your moves are going to need to have some really strong connection to an existing stone. You probably know that already. But in this case, it's starting to become urgent for black to add a move here. Why is that? So, well, just visually, I think this looks a lot better for black, and I think you probably agree that adding a move would make your position better. But the other thing is that all of the moves for white are starting to become sente or tempo-like in the local area. So something like this means that black kind of has to get out of here. Something like this, or this, or this, or retreat into the corner and be quite sad. And so now these stones technically won't have any influence on the rest of the game. And white kind of got these outside moves for cheap, right? Black was already kind of getting some of this corner, and now black is getting the corner really strongly, but black's position didn't increase. But white got this stuff. White got thick here. White is playing near their friends for free and getting stronger all over. White's position is improving rapidly. Black's is not. This is very one-sided. And so part of playing Go is how to avoid this one-sided stuff. And the answer is you got to reinforce your weak friends. Play near your weak stones. Play near your friends and make them stronger. And I'll make an even stronger example just to give you an idea of what I want to get into. These stones seem kind of far away for now. Like this stone is not losing liberties. It's still got a corner to retreat into. But after kind of getting surrounded a little bit here, it's really urgent to play near your friend, right? And so the more stones in the local area for the enemy, Probably the more urgent it is to play near your friend. It depends on the specifics of the situation, of course, but it gets more and more urgent the more stones come near. The reason is because your normal variations stop working here. So for instance, if black blocks a 3-3 invasion like this, you can see that in normal games, there's this like double hane thing going on, right? But now, when white cuts, white can just support on the inside, and this stone is captured. So this guy is helping out a lot. And so what happens is like the normal variations bump into other surrounding stones, and it changes the way you have to play. And the effect of this is very dramatic. These black stones could die here. This is black is getting cooked. White stole the entire corner, right? And so this is very, very unfair. This is very one-sided. White is getting all of this in tempo or in cente, and so white is getting a lot of this basically for free. And so double-digit Q players have a really, really, really hard time recognizing when this sort of stuff is about to happen to them. And the reason is they don't understand the principle of when you need to reinforce your friends. You want to reinforce much earlier in the sequence. And so that's what that section is going to be about. On to the next. And so chapter 2 is going to be about board vision. And I'm just going to set up a board really quickly. And so, yeah, again, not worried about the specific order of how we got here, but what we are worried about is how to see the board. So, what's going on this board? What are all the candidate moves that you could possibly play on this board? Well, you know, I think this is technically a legal move, but it's a bad move. Why? Well, because I think these stones are thick, right? And so one part of board vision is that stones can get what we call thick, and they don't need any more friends nearby. So countering our first point, which is that stones need friends, strong stones are stones that already have enough friends. If you invite 30 kids to a birthday party, it's not necessarily more fun than inviting 15 kids to a birthday party, right? It may actually be less fun. What other things can we look at here, right? Well, the white stones are alive in the corner, but they're cut off mostly from the outside. Here, the white stones are not so cut off, and there's a cutting point. And finally, it seems like black has a moyo and a weak stone, and there's an unapproached corner. And so just by zooming out and taking stock of the board position, we can start to see candidate moves. Because there's a cutting point here and here, we can think of moves related to those cutting points. Commonly, white peeps to break up the moyo. We're also going to talk about opportunity cost. So, the value of a move is, when you put it into the AI, the value of the move is compared to the best available move. This move is a really, really good move, right? What is the problem with this move? Nothing. I'm going to say that a lot of people would say, well, you could play this one. This is more traditional. It should be better, right? It's better control over the corner territory, and we prioritize the corner. This one is more traditional, seems to take up a little more space, and seems just as strong to me, right? But there's no actual problem with this move, right? It's just the problem is that this one's better. This one's better. This one's better, right? And so there's a lot of moves that you can play in Go, and this is extremely endemic to all levels of play, even professional. There's a lot of moves that you can play in Go. Simply don't have time to consider them all. And we need some way to weigh each move and see approximately how valuable it is. That's what opportunity cost basically means. When you play one move, you lose the opportunity to do something else. Opportunity cost in Go has a lot to do with Sente. So for instance, in this position, this attacking move is almost certainly Sente against the black stone. When black plays the move we showed earlier, Isn't this stone in kind of a weird spot? Or something like this to help reduce black's influence? Anything here becomes super sente right now because the black stone is going to be die and become wasted, and then white is going to essentially have a moyo. So this black stone is reducing the efficiency of all the white stones. And so this is an opportunity for white to get a free move. And the cost of not doing it, let's say white plays here right away, is that black can take away that opportunity, potentially in sente. And this is sort of the main sort of clockwork mechanism of Go, is finding your sentes and hitting them at the right timing so that you get all of your opportunities and the opportunities are stolen from your opponent. Okay. Let's keep it going. Let's talk about getting surrounded. Okay. Let's say we have a stone rescuing problem. How to get this stone out of here, right? And I just want to look at the natural sort of things to do. So black can consider to kick here or knight's move, but really I'm just going to say that the best option is this attachment. And the most angry thing white can do here, which is a common thing to consider, is just the wedge. And usually you'll find that wedges are doing something, but not enough, right? If cut, black breaks the net. This is quite bad for white. And if fix the net, black connects. And so this is essentially a bad exchange for white, and you should only use it as a last resort. And so we looked at the most angriest move. Let's look at the next angriest move. And black can scoot out through here, and this actually fixes the wedge as well. So there's no additional thinking to do with that, right? And then you might say, all right, now I'm going to capture all the stones with a net. But of course, it's easy to see that the cutting point situation after just a few moves becomes intolerable for white. And black escapes the net, and these stones have very bad liberties. This stone has very bad liberties in position. And so white is basically obliged to play something like this. White is cut, has mini cuts here, and black is just going to be okay in this situation because black is outside of the encircling net. And again, another way to see that is these sector lines. Black is just kind of popping out of the border of the sector that white has set up. Drop in pencils. And so this is a bad situation for white. This is worse than what white could possibly get. And it seems that white can't surround the stones effectively. And so we need to find a better move, right? We said the game is about surrounding. But surrounding is not working. We can't capture these stones. And it turns out that in Go, actually more important than surrounding is finding these partial surrounding moves. Black still has to escape. Black could try some stuff like cut here, but most normally black would just push out. White plays the strongest surrounding move, which is here. This one's obviously infinity cuts again. Or white plays the strongest shape move, depending on the context, and lets black out. And then white can play another loose surrounding move, something like this or this, and still probably sente, right? And then white can try to surround some more with something like this. And then fix the cut. Something like this. And these black stones are going to live. They got all the way out, right? Okay, who's winning this game? it looks to me like white has a relatively kind of strong control over this area, great control over this area. Black has some control over this area and is looking to keep moving, but it's white's turn, so white can keep surrounding, loose surrounding. And it seems like white is getting on the outside, right? One more move, and this is a crazy nice little moyo, right? And this is starting from the center of the board, right? So if we'd started near the edge, you know, these stones would be sort of over here. You know, and this is just looking like a territory. So, like, what's going on here? Well, the idea is this game is the surrounding game, but it's also the cutting and connecting game. And so there's this interplay between how strong you can play when trying to surround your opponent. And the idea is that this loose surrounding is oftentimes much more valuable than just capturing the group. If black had given up this initial stone, and instead, for instance, played over here and over here and over here at some point during the game to match the white's number of moves, right? Then actually black is much better off on this board. And you might say you fudged this completely, and this is a sort of fudged example, but in our course we're going to talk about plenty of in-game examples where this type of loose surrounding is really, really valuable. The goal of this is actually to let your opponent out so that you can build a position somewhere else. And all the moves are going to be sente, and oftentimes you'll force your opponent to sacrifice because they can't deal with the resulting strength that you get on the outside. And so talking about this surrounding is going to be the absolute key to bumping up from around 15Q to around 5Q. This is basically all you need to do to beat any 8Q on the planet is find some weak stuff, attack it. They're going to run all over the board. If you attack really, really well, then you're just going to have stones everywhere. And after that, it's relatively easy to win the game. It's a lot of opportunity to take territory. But all your moves were sente, and you're in a great spot. And so we're going to talk about this type of surrounding and why this is the most important thing that happens in most games of Go. And then finally, we're going to talk about the clamperoonie. All right, so I've seen a lot of double-digit Q games, right? And if I know anything about double-digit Q games, it's that when double-digit Qs feel pressured, they start playing moves that seem familiar because they ruled out the moves that they don't like. So in this case, black's best local shape, I guess, would be this bamboo. But man, what a brutal surround. And this shape actually doesn't have that many liberties. So white has to sort of live in gote in the corner. And this is a little bit sad, right? Of course, white got some extra preparation to get this situation unfolding. But a lot of times in double-digit Q games, what I'll see happen is the player says, that variation looks bad for me, so I'm going to do something else. And I don't really know what's going to happen, so I'm going to play the clamperoonie. But this move doesn't work. Come on, guys. White plays the same thing. And now this stone is in a bad place. It's just not doing anything. You could say, oh, but I'm going to cut, right? Well, okay. And so, like, you guys know the answer here, right? Like, if I told you, hey, should you play a move that doesn't work and doesn't give you anything that you wanted and just gets captured and is super in a bad place, you would say, maybe I shouldn't do that, right? Like, maybe I should do something else. But the problem is that what the thought process stopped at, I don't like this variation, So I'm going to play something more interesting and see what happens, right? It's much more important to check a move like this for working, not working, than it is to check a move like this. This one's relatively easy to check, and this is hard. And so you're trying to protect yourself sort of subconsciously from these hard variations. And a lot of double-digit Q players do this. I do this at 1-dan, right? Like, it's super, super common. It's that I don't know what to do, so I'm going to start a fight, right? I don't know what to do, so I'm going to invade, right? Well, part of the skill of Go is knowing what happens when you play this move, right? Clamp is a real move, but the Clamperoonie is not a real move. And the reason is the variation's not working. This is a practical type move. Practical type moves need to be checked, right? This is an intuition move. So this is your first intuition, most common shape for making shape in all the beginner books is the bamboo joint. So this is an intuition move. This move needs less checking than this move. And so we're going to have a whole section about how to kind of retrain yourself to avoid playing moves like the Clamperoonie that get you into more trouble, right? Okay, and so that's the plan. We're going to have fun with it. I'm a very unserious human being, which is why it took me so long to hit Shodan. And so we're going to go over it. Stones need friends, opportunity cost, board vision, getting surrounded, common goofs. And then I'm going to start looking at the YouTube comments, probably in 6 to 8 months when I finally remember. And then I will use those to get more ideas for more videos, all targeted at double-digit Q players exclusively, but hopefully with some high-level analysis that you can understand. My goal is to really break out of this sort of a pattern of you can just play the game and get better, and really start to talk about what I'm actually seeing on the Go board. Because I think that's what you guys want to know, is like, what does the vision of a high-level player look like? What is some heuristic that I can use to play better in my games without having to do all the reading? That's going to make you much better, much more quickly. You still got to play games. You still got to do some Ego. But just having some ideas, some new ideas of like what the steps to go through during your thinking process is going to help a lot. Okay, thanks for watching this intro video. It's getting a bit long, so I'm going to try to cut it down to about 15 minutes, and I'll see you in the lessons.